What's going on, y'all? My name is Davon Clark. I'm a licensed realtor out of the state of Georgia. I serve the metropolitan area of Atlanta, Georgia. And I also can refer you out to different realtors that are local to your state and your city. If you just hit me up, I can refer you as well when it comes to doing any transactions involving real estate. Nonetheless, I want to start these videos around the real and real estate. That's what I'm going to call them. And I just need you guys to, I'm pretty sure you're getting a lot of this already on YouTube. I'm pretty sure most people are telling you the different things in real estate. A lot of people are breaking down their commissions. A lot of people are breaking down how real estate works. But I'm actually going to dive a little bit deeper into real estate as far as transactions, because I have been doing real estate for quite some time now, and there's a lot of things that go into transaction. I think most realtors nowadays kind of make this glamorous life on social media. Also, you have the reality TV shows that create an edit around what real estate is. They show you how much the property might cost, how much the commission they might be getting, but they don't actually show you the involvement and the transactions in it. So this video is going to be based around the experience I had in regards when it comes to title and real estate. So if you guys don't know, we're going to kind of jump into it. But before we jump into it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you like stuff like this. Also, if you can, share it to other people. This might be informative to them in regards to transaction when it comes to real estate. And please don't forget to leave any comments below. Tell me how you're feeling. Tell me what's happening in your life. Tell me if you need any, let me know if you need any advice. If I can help you, I definitely will do as the best I can do. If I can't help you, I will refer you to somebody that can possibly help you. But nonetheless, let's get into this. So this is about a title issue I had when it came to a real estate transaction. All right, so in this particular situation, I was a buyer's agent. So if you guys don't know, a buyer's agent is someone who's working with someone that's looking to buy the property, and then you have your listing agent. So that listing agent is the person who's helping the seller sell their property. So they're listing the property to sell, and then you have a listing agent, you have a buyer's agent. And so in this situation, in this transaction, I was the buyer's agent. And so what happened is that we saw the property. Originally, the property was listed at 160, I believe. I think it was 160 originally. And they had knocked it down in regards to the cost about like maybe $11,000. So it went down to $149,900. So I believe that's $11,000. Don't get my math right, y'all. I'm just trying to remember the situation. So they knocked it down to about 1,499. We came in with my buyer at 1,499 with a seller concession of about close to $1,000. So if you guys don't know what a seller concession is, it can be like towards closing costs, and whatever else might be needed, maybe different items as far as paying down different things and purchasing a house. Nonetheless, we went in at this price point. What I like to do through every transaction is, if I can, before I kind of go on with my buyer, of course I like to do a CMA in the area. I realized doing the CMA, and I told my buyer this, I was like, with me doing a CMA, which is a comparative market analysis on the neighborhood and in the area, because this was an area in Georgia. It's about 2 hours from Atlanta. Like I say, I service the metropolitan area of Atlanta. Yes, I can go 2 hours south, 2 hours north, 2 hours northwest, 2 hours northeast, 2 hours southwest, 2 hours southeast. However, or east or west. However, I love to stay in that metropolitan area of Atlanta. But in this situation, my buyer, around what she was approved in, we had to kind of go a little further out because Atlanta is becoming very expensive in price point. So in order for my home buyers to still be able to successfully get a home, we got to put them in a place where we know that throughout time the home value will actually appreciate, which most times, 9 times out of 10, home values appreciate regardless. But there have been a time where home values, depreciated, but 9 times out of 10 it'll appreciate. And so nonetheless, we went to this particular area. I looked at the comparables. I was like, how are they getting, originally, like I said, it was priced at 160. So I was like, how are they getting 160 in this area? Like, there's nothing that previously sold within the last 6 months or 3 months in regards to this price point. So how are they making up a price point of 160? And I get it. It was an investor owned property. Sorry. And I get that the investor wanted to make their money, I guess make a certain amount of money probably that they had on their ARV, which is the after repair value. They wanted to make a certain amount. So I think that's why they priced it at that 160. But I think after them realizing that the property had sat on the market for about 2 months, they realized like, oh, we need to drop this price. So anyway, we came in at the 1,499. I actually asked my buyers, like, do you want to try to come in a little lower? She was like, no, she felt more comfortable at the 1499. Sorry, y'all, I have my laptop over here because I'm just going to give you some information in regards to something that I talk about in here in this video as well. So I got my laptop over here so I can make sure I'm reading it directly to you guys. So anyway, we came in at 1499. I did, like I said, I did my comparable market analysis. I realized nothing had sold even at that 1499. But again, I'm not an appraiser. All I can do is do my analysis, figure out the community and the situations, blah blah. So nonetheless, we get the property, we got the offer accepted, we go under contract. As you go under contract, there's different things that kind of happen. You have a due diligence period of time. So I usually set my due diligence period at 7 days. Some people do 14 days. Some people do 2 days, depending on what type of transaction you're doing. Some people might not even have a due diligence. So I usually set mine around 7 days. That way we have enough time if it falls into the weekends, because every calendar day counts during due diligence. So even if it's a Saturday or Sunday, it counts towards your due diligence. So I set a certain amount of time in that space so that we have enough time to get a home inspection done. I also like to make sure that the seller secures us with a termite letter. If you're doing an FHA loan, you have to get a termite letter. A veteran's loan, you have to get a termite letter. So these are letters that have to be given as far as the property, because termites, if you guys don't know, can cause structural damage with the wood and the foundation and everything. And then that basically makes the lender, the bank, or whoever is lending the loan not very secure as far as lending you that loan, because they're like, well, this house is structurally, it's damaged and it wouldn't appraise or bring up the value as far as what it should cost if it has termite damage. Nonetheless, that's a whole other video. If you guys want more information about termite situation, I will try to find a pest control person, if they don't mind coming on YouTube with me and talking with you guys about it. So yeah, so I try to get that done within that due diligence period of time. Any type of things that we might find during home inspection, we try to get done. In this situation, there were a few things that came up during home inspection. We gave it to, we sent over a property to address concerns amendment. We sent it over to the seller. They agreed to the different things, and then also I made sure to do my due diligence, because we realized that that house had an addition added on in regards to structural wise. So we just wanted to make sure that the city had permitted it correctly. Nonetheless, we clear all that. We're good to go. They signed the amendment to address concerns. And then in Georgia, if you guys don't know, we use closing attorneys to help us close on the process. I know some states don't use closing attorneys. In Georgia, we do utilize closing attorneys. And so the closing attorney had emailed me prior to our closing date and emailed me, CC'd the listing agent on the, and I think they might have CC'd the lender too, but sometimes the closing attorney, what they'll do is they'll CC the buyer's agent, the listing agent on it, usually on any transactions that's happening via email, just so we are clear as far as what's going on and as far as the closing. But then also they might sometimes CC the lender, they might CC maybe the seller, maybe the buyer, but usually it's usually the buyer's agent and the listing agent they'll put on the email. So they CC'd the email over with both of us on it, and they basically had let me know and the listing agent know that they could not get the title clear. So they couldn't get the title insured, I should say. There was a defect in the title that they couldn't allow it to be insured through a title company. And so I then in turn decided to reach out to listing agent, because I wasn't privy to this information. And you know, I understand some people are like, well, I don't have to disclose certain information because it's not quote unquote a defect on their end that they know of, so they don't have to disclose it. But I always tell people, if you can give me as much information as possible as far as when I'm on the buyer side and you're the listing agent, just so I can be clear and understand how to effectively navigate this process and make it a smooth transaction. Some people don't want to disclose all information, and it's understandable. You don't have to if it's not a latent defect or any type of defects on the property that you know of. You don't quote unquote have to disclose, but it's always great to give as much information as you can give, because this is a real estate transaction, and we all know in real estate time is of the essence. So we want to make sure we create this transaction and as soon as possible, but also smoothly as possible. So nonetheless, the closing attorney had CC'd us both on there, let us know that the title could not be cleared, was not going to be able to be insured. So the listing agent, then I then call the listing agent. I say, hey, did you see what the closing attorney had said in regards to the title situation? And she was like, yeah. And then I said, can you tell me a little bit more about the property? Why wouldn't it be able to be the title wouldn't be able to be insured? And she was like, well, the seller, who was an investor, he bought the properties from a tax deed auction. I said, okay. And she was like, usually we haven't had a problem. He's bought a couple properties from a tax deed auction. He was able to get them cleared with the title situation. I'm sorry, y'all, my computer's acting up. With the title situation, and so we haven't had a problem. Do you think it would be possible to maybe move the transaction over to another closing attorney that has worked with us in this transaction before and helped us clear the properties and secure title insurance? I said, okay, no problem. Let me talk to my buyer, because I don't just want to just jump out there and be like, yes, let's just go for it. I always tell people, let me talk to my other party that's involved, because I'm an agent. I'm just here to help service you, help you through the process. I'm not here to make a decision for you. I always tell people always come to me and they say, like, Davon, why, if I ask you a question about this, about that, they always be like, let's off record. You can be honest with me. You can be honest. And I just tell people, like, I don't want to jade your decision. Yes, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to be transparent in the transaction, but I'm not going to jade your decision, because when it comes down to the end of the road, I don't want you to blame me for not getting what you ultimately want. Let that be a discussion between you, whatever family members involved in this transaction. But with me, I'm just going to give you the transparency as far as the facts, the evidence, and you're going to have to make your own decision. All right. That's what I do. I'm here to help you as a realtor. I'm not here to create a I guess a bias towards what you should buy and what you should sell or whatever. I'm just here to give you information and help you through this transaction. Nonetheless, like I said, the listing agent told me. So I said, I'm going to reach out to my buyer. I reached out to the buyer, said, this is what's going on. We might utilize a different closing attorney. She asked me, about closing attorneys, try to get more information about it. Does it affect transactions? Blah, blah. I told her, no. It's similar, just, using another person to help close the deal. So it's not going to affect you in the matter, but we just want to make sure that the deal is closed correctly and make sure that your property is insured correctly as far as title. So we try to go over to the other closing attorney. The other closing attorney is like, no, then they're not going to touch this situation. So I in turn say to the listing agent, I was like, well, the options that we were given through the other closing attorney was two. Is either one, go find the owner who currently, I guess you could say currently still owns the property, and take them down to a courthouse. The attorney was going to write up a letter in which the person could sign, get it notarized, signing over the deed and all that stuff to claim the property for the new seller who bought the property through tax auction. Or we could do a quiet title action, and that basically means we got to go to court and we have to let a judge figure out the amount of days that's needed in order for this seller to come back and claim the property. If you guys don't know, Georgia is also a redemption state. So a redemption state in the sense of if your house is taken through foreclosure, through tax deed auction situation, what happens is that seller, that owner has the right of a year, so 12 months to come back and reclaim said property once they notify them about the property. So they have those 12 months to that year to come back and to claim the property. And so they would have to then pay the amount that was due on the taxes plus interest that they make the former owner incur. So they would pay back the buyer who bought it from the auction the amount that it cost, and also an interest. So this particular property, it was bought in 2021. We're trying to buy it because this literally recently just happened. So we were trying to purchase it in the beginning of 2023. We're now in like January, February. So we're now in, where are we in now? May. So we're in May now. So it's not too long of a transaction, But I realized that some people's like, you need to start telling people what's really going on in real estate, because you're doing these transactions and you're always experiencing something, and people don't put out what truly is happening in real estate. So it's great to kind of chronicleize it through your stories. And everybody's like, you should have a camera with you at all times when you're doing real estate. And I'm like, well, I can't, because I'm really focusing on my clients. So I don't want to have a camera up in their face 24/7. So hopefully these videos will become helpful and you guys can understand a little bit more about real estate transactions. So nonetheless, let's get back to the story, because I can go off on a tangent. So so I told the listing agent to let her seller know that those are the only two possible situations that could happen in regards to this, title issue. So if you guys don't know, most times when you get a tax deed auction property, most of them might be clear. They might have a clear title, but they might not have a marketable title. So when I talk about marketable title, I'm going to read a definition so you guys can, understand what marketable title is. So it says, when a title is marketable, the title is clear and free from defects. So I know you guys are probably saying, well, you just said that the title, if it's clear, then why is it not marketable? But it's a difference between both of them. Excuse me, I'm sorry. This means real estate can be marketed for sale without the seller or potential buyer taking additional steps. So this means that they found that you can be able to transfer said title, and it can be insured and is marketable to go without any other situations happening in regards to it. And then it says, let's talk about an insurable title. However, an insurable title means a property may have a known title defect or defaults. So usually, maybe it might say something like, if it's an insurable title, maybe one of the defects might be like a breakage somewhere in the title. So let's see. I just want to give y'all enough information so y'all can kind of understand, because I feel like a lot of people don't talk about this, and I just want y'all to understand, because this is stuff that you can also like Google just to find out. But I know because people don't talk about it a lot, we be like, well, I didn't know you could do this. So like, some common defects found in insurable titles can be uncanceled prior owner mortgages, questionable easements for access, an unresolved judgment, liens against your prior owners. So like, these are like other type of things that could happen in regards as far as when your title is an insurable title. So again, talk to a title specialist. There are a lot of people out here that actually specialize in titles when it comes to real estate. I know some realtors are probably like, what is he talking about? But trust me, you want to dive into title issues. I always tell people, especially on the seller side, before I even list a property, I like to sit down with the sellers and say, hey, do you have, what's your deed looking like? What's the deed looking like? What's your title looking like? Do you have any judgments against your property, so liens? And then also, man, I kind of went blank because I'm talking a lot. I don't want to just ramble on all over the place. So those are some of the questions I kind of ask when I'm trying to go about helping to sell a property. Oh, also, do you have any more? Like, do you have a mortgage payment? So, are you currently paying on a mortgage, or or is your mortgage fully paid off? So these are some of the questions I kind of ask before I just list a property, because I kind of want to know as much as I can know. So, and I always tell listing agents, ask these questions. I'm not saying that most of them don't, because I'm pretty sure a lot of listing agents, especially the ones that's been in this business for a long time, they know like it's questions that you want to ask and dig in a little bit deeper. And people have to be transparent. You as a seller, you as a buyer, be transparent with us in regards to the process, because when you leave stuff out, what happens is that it gets found out anyway during underwriting. So you might as well just be transparent. Or as you can see in this situation, it got found out in regards to the closing attorney that the title wasn't insurable. So anyway, back to this, and I'm going to wrap it up because I know this video is getting long. So anyway, the current seller of the property, he did not want to, he felt like it was a county issue. So what happened is that basically the closing attorney, the title people, they said that the lady was served for foreclosure purposes as far as tax deeds. The county seized said property, but they didn't properly, I guess she wasn't the one that kind of signed off on it, and it wasn't properly done correctly. So because of that default, they then in turn said that she still has ownership to said property because it wasn't done correctly. Even though they followed the protocol, like I talked to the attorneys over the property, the people that seized the property. I talked to those attorneys. They said that they did all that they were supposed to do as far as when it comes to the legal state of Georgia. They filed it in the newspaper. They publicized it. I mean, they sent off over documentation. They did everything through the courts correctly. And for some reason, there's still a breakage or some type of defect in this title. So currently at the moment, the owner, that former person that was kicked out of the property, still owns the property, but there is a seller on the property. An investor who bought the property, so he is the seller to the property, but there's still a former owner to the property. And so I don't have to do this, but I always try to make an effort into helping people out. So instead of, I don't know if the listing agent did it, so I don't want to say she didn't do it, but what I did is I went the extra step. I contact the former owner that I found due to public records, which anybody can find this information in regards to people who own houses. You can find the owners, what's happening via public records. So I found the owner and I talked to the owner's daughter. The owner is an older lady. So the daughter got on the phone with me. We had a good conversation. And then from there, I told the listing agent, hey, this is her phone number. Reach out to the young lady in regards to the property, see if you guys can go over there, maybe get the mom to sign off on the paperwork, they to notarize, and then that way you can take full ownership and we can get this stuff cleared and get a title, get the title insured properly. So anyway, needless to say, the listing agent said that the owner, the current seller, did not want to do that. He felt like it was a county issue. He felt like he shouldn't be responsible for what happened, and he didn't want to take action on it. So what we in turn did is we decided, I told my buyers, like, the best thing to do is to pull out of this transaction because we don't know how long it's going to take. The seller does not want to, engage in any conversation with the former owner. It's so funny because I was actually talking to the former owner's daughter, and she was saying, yeah, we kept getting letters in the mail saying like we still owned the property in regards to tax situation, that we still owned it, and they would drive around and they to the house, and they actually saw this particular seller that bought the house re-renovating the house because he's an investor, and so they saw it getting fixed up. So they was watching from the sideline like, oh yeah, you fixing this house up, and shoot, if we can figure out what's going on, we gonna come back in and swoop up and take that house. So it's kind of interesting. Like I tell you guys, real estate is an interesting situation. I don't know why more people don't talk about their stories in real estate, but anyway, so we pulled out the deal. I pulled out the deal. I told my buyer, let's pull out this deal. Let's go find you another house because honestly, I don't know how long it's going to take. And he doesn't want to do anything in regards to it. So what ended up happening is that they put the house back on the market. The former listing agent was no longer listed as the agent on the property because what happened is that my buyer had an alert in her phone. So when a house came back up on the market, she told me, she's like, hey, Davon, look at this. The house came back up on the market. And then I went to the house and I saw that the former listing agent was no longer involved in the transaction. So I don't know if she left the transaction or if they decided to part ways because he wasn't following her instructions to either go find a former owner, get those papers signed, or do a quiet title action against the property. I hope I said that right earlier. Quiet title action against the property. So she was out of the situation. He had got a new agent over the situation, and then they raised the price from $149 to $158. Mind you, my buyer, she had an FHA loan. We came in and had it appraised, and they only appraised at $150. So there wasn't that much of a room as far as equity in the property anyway. And as I said earlier, I was trying to figure out how we were going to get to that $149. And I really thought that it was going to appraise lower just because of what I saw in the area as far as my comparative market analysis in the houses. Because most houses in this area, they don't sell often because people kind of stay in this area. And because of that, it's hard to figure out what are the comparatives and when it comes to properties in this area. So the appraiser made it work. He went out a couple miles, 5 to 10 minutes out, 15 minutes maybe at the most out, and found like other comparables that helped us get to that 150 mark. And then with the renovations and the condition of the house, the new Havoc systems and all that stuff, he was able to kind of boost it up in regards to condition and then add on as well. But anyway, because the house was a really, really great house, the investor did a great job basically renovating this house. He did a wonderful job, and When I tell you he cleared everything out from the foundation, reboarded the foundation, got new wood underneath the foundation, got rid of all the termites, everything. When I tell you he did a wonderful job, so I don't want to knock the investor in the situation. But anyway, they put it back on the market at 158. We had it appraised at 150. So I don't know how they thought they was going to get that 158 because it appraised at 150, and an appraisal stays with the property for a certain amount of time, especially when you have an FHA. And so nonetheless, I was like, okay, whatever. They're trying to get 158. Let's see what happens. As me and my buyer, we go find another property. I start getting phone calls from other realtors. And I'm like, they're like, hey, were you the buyer's agent on this property? And I'm like, yes. I'm like, well, how'd y'all get my number? Because usually what happens is that the listing agent number will be present, but sometimes not the buyer. But if it goes in our system, in our MLS system, which is the multiple listings service, they'll put down there at the bottom, it'll say like who helped to sell the property and like the closing situation. So like the other agent's name will be down there. And I don't understand why my name is showing up there, because we didn't close on the property, but hey, it showed up and agents were calling me about this property. So I got a final call from one other agent, and he was like, I'm looking for Davon. I was like, yes, Davon. He was like, were you the buyer's agent over this property? I was like, yes. He was like, can you tell me a little bit about the property? I was like, well, what do you want to know? And he was like, is there any issues over the property? I said, well, why? Why are you asking that? He was like, because right now we are having an appraisal issue. And I said, okay. And I was like, what type of loan does your buyer have? He said FHA. I said, okay, my buyer had an FHA and they appraised it at 150. So with them doing a 158, are you guys prepared to close that gap with that additional $8,000? Because the bank is not going to lend you more than that, and you're not going to be able to close if the appraisal is 150. So he was like, yeah, we're having like difficulties trying to figure out the appraisal. I said, okay, well, did the listing agent also tell you that there's a title defect on the property? And like, I didn't, like, some people like, oh, why did you disclose that? But I want to disclose that so then they know the other situation that's happening, because this is going to take you some time to get this property closed. So it depends on your buyer. How long can your buyer wait? You know, if your buyer can wait 6-7 months, then hey, it is what it is. But he was like, oh, no, I didn't know that. Now there's something here. I was like, well, did you not ask the listing agent? He said, when I asked the listing agent over the property, she doesn't know anything that's happened. She doesn't understand what's happening, don't know anything. So what I'm thinking is that the seller in this situation didn't make her privy to any information in regards to the property, and she's just listing the property. So anyway, we had that conversation. I let him go. I went about my day. And so we're here now, y'all. I know it was about what that was February. So was it February, March, April, May? Where were we in May? Yeah, May. So close to June. So but about like 5 months later, we are here in this situation. I have many more other stories. I'm sorry this one went really, really long. Hopefully it was informative. I know that a realtor will probably jump in the comments and say something crazy in regards to the title, marketable titles versus insurable titles versus clear titles. So again, if you want any more information about title situations, definitely reach out to a title company and just ask them questions around insurable title, marketable title, clear title. I'm not a title insurance company. I'm a realtor. So the way I might put it might sound like it's confusing. So I would say reach out to them. If you need any information in regards to real estate law, reach out to lawyers. Yes, as a realtor, we are responsible as far as knowing real estate law in our states. However, we don't know it as well as a lawyer who studies it 24/7. So certain questions, ask them. But if you need any information about real estate in the state of Georgia, hit me up. If you need a referral to a realtor outside the state of Georgia in a certain city, hit me up. And hopefully you guys will take some lessons out of these conversations, out of these videos that I'm going to be creating called The Real in Real Estate. And yeah, if you're just joining this channel, please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like the channel and comment below about your success in real estate or your pitfalls in real estate. I would love to hear it, and I will see you guys in the next video. All right, peace. Bye-bye.